Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and here are the top headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. US President Joe Biden hosts Prime Minister Modi at the White House. Both leaders will hold bilateral meetings this evening and address a joint press conference. Prime Minister will also address US lawmakers in a joint sitting of the Senate and Congress. General Electric signs an MoU with Hindustan Aeronautics to produce fighter jet engines, marking a major milestone in the defense relationship. GE says it could potentially manufacture the engines in India once it gets the authorization from the US government. Stock markets wobble across the world after US Fed Chair Jerome Powell hints at more rate hikes. Sensex drops over 350 points. Nifty loses over 80 points. Mid-cap index snaps an 8-day gaining streak. Ratings agency Fitch raises India's GDP forecast from 6% to 6.3% for FY24, says the revision is due to strong near-term momentum in the first quarter and robust credit growth. Lupin's Nilesh Gupta expects sales worth $200 million from the new respiratory drug approved by the U.S. regulator. Projects sales in U.S. to hit $850 million by FY25. Also adds that Lupin is doubling down on the Indian market as well. That's an exclusive. Delhi police arrest a man from Bihar for allegedly leaking data from CoWIN, the government's COVID-19 vaccination portal. The accused allegedly created a bot on messaging app Telegram, which shared sensitive data of citizens. The flood situation worsens in Assam. Nearly 1.2 lakh people across 20 districts are affected. Met Department warns of extremely heavy rainfall over the next few days. More equipment arrives as rescue teams race against time to find the missing Titanic submersible with 5 people on board. Oxygen supply likely to run out in a few hours. 2 of the world's most high-profile tech billionaires agree to fight each other in a cage match. Mark Zuckerberg accepts a challenge from Elon Musk after he tweeted saying he was up for a cage fight.
So impressed with India, and I really believe that the opportunity for India's growth in the semiconductor industry is now. This is India's time to drive incredible growth.
Meeting with Prime Minister Modi, very impressed with the vision that he has for India and the advances that India is making.
मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और अमेरिका की साझेदारी सस्टेनेबल और इंक्लूसिव ग्लोबल ग्रोथ का इंजन साबित होगी।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi kick-started the business leg of his state visit to the United States with a private meeting with the Bidens at the White House, followed by an interaction with top CEOs from Micron and General Electric. Now, the leaders will hold bilateral meetings this evening and address a joint press conference. Prime Minister will also address U.S. lawmakers in a joint sitting of the Senate and Congress. Here's a report on how Day 2 went.
After spending a day in New York, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Washington for the business leg of his landmark state visit. US President Joe Biden, along with the First Lady, welcomed the Prime Minister to the White House. Prime Minister Modi is the third world leader after French President Macron and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol to be invited on a state visit by the Biden administration. The Prime Minister presented an array of gifts to the Bidens, including a sandalwood box, a silver idol of Lord Ganesha, and a diya. A first edition print of the book, The 10 Principal Upanishads, along with a lab-grown 7.5-carat green diamond. The Bidens gifted Prime Minister Modi an antique American book gallery, a vintage camera, a wildlife photography book, and the first edition of copy of Robert Frost's poems.
जहां एक और अमेरिका के पास उच्च कोटि के शिक्षण संस्थान है, एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजीज है, वहीं भारत के पास विश्व की सबसे बड़ी युवा फैक्ट्री है। और इसलिए मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और अमेरिका की साझेदारी सस्टेनेबल और इंक्लूसिव ग्लोबल ग्रोथ का इंजन साबित होगी।
Prime Minister continued to meet top American CEOs. Sanjay Mehrotra of the semiconductor maker Micron spoke about great opportunities in India. The Indian government has recently approved a semiconductor testing and packaging facility to be built by Micron in Gujarat.
Had an excellent meeting with Prime Minister Modi. Very impressed with the vision that he has for India and the advances that India is making. We discussed a wide range of topics, and we really look forward to greater opportunities in India.
The formalization of the much-awaited General Electric HAL jet engine deal remains one of the key deliverables of this trip. Prime Minister Modi invited Lawrence Culp, Chief Executive Officer of General Electric, to play a bigger role in India's aviation and renewable energy sector. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 General Electric will transfer 80% of the technology needed to build fighter jet engines in India.
Prime Minister Modi will meet more US CEOs tomorrow, including Sundar Pichai of Alphabet, Andy Jassy of Amazon, David Callan of Boeing as well. Recently, Air India signed a multi-billion-dollar aircraft deal with Boeing. The Bidens will also be hosting a state dinner for the Prime Minister. The who's who of American politics, top Hollywood celebrities and members of the Indian diaspora will be in attendance. The specially curated dinner menu will include plant-based millet courses, stuffed mushrooms, risottos and the option of fish.
Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to address a joint session of the US Congress later tonight. In a speech that is scheduled for 40 minutes, Prime Minister is expected to outline the role of India and the United States in the Indo-Pacific, economic reforms and India's growth potential. Bureau Report, CNBC TV18.
And in a big boost to India's defense sector, Hindustan Aeronautics has signed a deal with GE Aerospace to co-produce fighter jet engines. The Memorandum of Understanding includes joint production of GE Aerospace's F414 engines in India. In a statement, GE has said that they could potentially manufacture the engines in India once it receives export authorization from the US government. Parikshit Luthra joins us now with the details. Parikshit, a landmark deal there for the Indian defense sector.
Well, yes, this has been blessed by the highest political levels by Prime Minister Modi and President Biden. This had been in the works for some time and it was supposed to be announced during this state visit. So what happens now? This will now need export authorization from the US government, from the US Congress as well. The US government is quite confident that they will be able to get this through Congress very, very soon. And post that, the technology transfer will begin in phases. We are learning that 80% technology transfer by value will happen to India over a 3-year period. And the engine production plant could possibly come up in Koraput, Odisha, which is one of the locations that HAL has in India for its engine unit. The payment for this technology transfer, we believe, could be one time. And the payment and the terms of payment, the phase-wise manner in which it's going to take place, all that's going to be worked out now. We're getting at least 11 or 12 critical technologies of this jet engine. This includes special coating for corrosion and erosion, repair technology for turbines, compression disc and blades, coating and machining of single crystal turbine blades, machining and coating of hot end parts, complete tech transfer for blisk machining, machining of powder, metallurgy, polymer matrix composite, laser drilling for combustion, bottle boring of shafts as well. A total of 99 aircraft engines will be built as part of this deal. Let's see how things pan out and how soon this gets congressional approval as well.
Absolutely. Many thanks for those details, Parikshit. And from one milestone agreement to another, India has signed an agreement with the United States to join the Artemis Accords. Spearheaded by the USA, the Artemis Accords endeavor to facilitate human return to the moon by 2025. The White House has said that the space agencies of both countries have agreed on a joint space mission in 2024. And speaking of Prime Minister's visit to the United States, the Biden administration is planning to make it easier for Indians to live and work in the country. According to a Reuters report, a small number of Indians will be able to renew their H-1B visas without having to travel abroad. This move is a part of the pilot program that could be expanded in a couple of years, and an official announcement is expected anytime soon. Now to all the action from the stock market. Sensex lost over 350 points and Nifty slips over 80 points as stocks stumbled across the world. U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell hinted at further rate hikes, and as he testified before U.S. lawmakers. This rattled markets across the world. The Nifty Midcap Index also snapped an 8-day gaining streak. Prashant Nair is here with all the action from trade today. Prashant?
Well, it looked weak and tentative right from the word go, and by close, we were pretty much at the day's lowest point. It happened in waves. I mean, the market was okay till about 10:30 in the morning. That was the high point of the day, by the way. From there, there was a collapse all the way till about 1 p.m. From 1 p.m., the market rallied for an hour till about 2, and starting 2 o'clock, the market took another leg lower all the way to close at about close at 3:30. As I said, not at the day's low, but not very far away either. The changes on your screen, it's about 0.5%, but I mean, the market has been closing higher, not lower, and that's the reason why even these 0.5% changes stand out. Bank Nifty did a little better, but down as well, about 1/3% there. The real deal was mid-caps and small caps. After a long time, these indices were lower in a pronounced way. 0.75%, 1% cuts on your screen. I'll get to stocks there in just a bit, but Nifty stocks first. Tata Steel, Bajaj Finance, Tata Consumer, Asian Paints, Tata Motors were some of the stocks which were under pressure. Advanced decline was 2:1 in favor of declines. This is, a reverse of what we're used to, but IDFC first, India Cements, Mahindra Financial, AB Capital, Kalyan Jewelers, Data Patterns, EIL were some of the other losers. Volume-led gainers, there was no dearth. And HCC, highest ever traded volumes, big gainer, 16%. Max Financial Services, that was underperforming in the life insurance space, that came up. BSC, KEI Industries, Aether, APL Apollo. You had neo names like Paradeep Phosphates, Dhampur Sugar, Dish TV, Supreme Industries continues to gain. Anthony Waste came out of the blue. Dalmia Bharat and Kim's. I go through this extensive list just to give you a sense of the kind of action which still prevails in the broader mid-cap and small cap universe. We will hear in global markets out of the US once again from Fed chair. Yesterday, he did not really say very much new, but I think markets will be glued to that. The 20-day moving average for the Nifty stands at about 18,650, which is about 100 points lower, and that's the lower end. Will global markets continue to correct, and will we see some consolidation downwards? That's the question as we come back tomorrow.
So global jitters, they're impacting Dalal Street. Thank you so much for all those details, Prashant. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said that interest rate hikes are expected to keep inflation under control. He indicated more rate hikes ahead, added that inflation is well above where it should be.
The level to which we raise rates is actually a separate question of the speed with which we move. Earlier in the process, speed was very important. It's not very important now. We were at 75 basis points for several meetings, then we were at 50 basis points, then 50 basis points, 25 basis points at 3 consecutive meetings, and now we're moderating that pace.
Ratings agency Fitch has raised India's GDP forecast from 6% to 6.3% for FY24. The agency has said that the revision in its estimates is due to strong near-term momentum in the first quarter and robust credit growth. Zee Entertainment CEO Puneet Goenka has said that the Zee-Sony merger should go through whether he remains the CEO or not. In an interview with Mint, Goenka said that he is completely focused on the merger as it is of utmost importance to him. He also said that the company could still complete the merger by September. Remember, the latest SEBI order has banned Subhash Chandra and Goenka from holding key managerial positions in any listed entities. Tata Consultancy Services has signed a deal with UK-based National Employment Savings Trust, the nation's largest workplace pension scheme. As part of the deal, TCS is to digitally transform its administration services. The 10-year deal is valued at around $1 billion. TCS said that the total maximum estimated value of the contract, if extended to the entirety of its 18-year tenure, will be $1.9 billion. And a day after receiving U.S. regulators' approval for its respiratory drug G-Spiriva, Lupin Managing Director Nilesh Gupta told CNBC-TV18 exclusively that they are hoping to launch the medicine by the next quarter. Lupin is the first generic drug company to receive U.S. FDA's nod for the drug. Gupta said they were eyeing a quarterly sales of $200 million in America. Take a look.
We're at around 180 odd million at this point of time, right? And we'll launch it the next quarter. I think obviously it gets back to north of that 200 million. I think at peak we were over 1.1 billion in the US. So there's a lot of room for us to crawl back before we start growing from the highest level that we achieved.
$850 million in terms of US generic sales by FY25.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair number. We should be able to do that and maybe some more. You've seen a lot of approvals from injectables, clearly more to be done there. India, obviously we're doubling down. We added 1,000 people. We're going to keep adding and we're going to keep growing in India, and then definitely restart innovation at some point.
Meanwhile, CNBC-TV18 has accessed US FDA's observations on Ipca Laboratories' Silvassa unit. The US drug regulator had flagged 3 quality and procedural lapses at the unit last month. Following an inspection, the drug regulator highlighted that Ipca failed to establish an adequate quality control unit. Added responsibilities and procedures for quality control were not followed. And staying with news from the pharma space, Europe's drug regulator has flagged compliance concerns at Indian pharma plants. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Thomas Hecker of the European Directorate for the Quality of Medicines has said that the compliance levels in Indian plants remain poor even after the pandemic.
All the regulators were quite curious to see whether or not the compliance level of companies had changed over the lockdown period, the pandemic, and also the travel restrictions. But I've performed about 8 inspections now post-pandemic, and the observations we have made were more or less the same as we have seen pre-pandemic. Over the course of the last 15 years, ever since I'm doing inspections here in India, facilities, equipment, buildings got better in terms of compliance with GMP, but now we were focusing on the quality management system of the companies, a robust, strong management system that really ensures the quality of medicines, and this is where we were focusing on.
On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, Delhi police arrest a man from Bihar for allegedly leaking data from CoWIN, the government's COVID-19 vaccination portal. More details when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business 360. Union Power Minister R.K. Singh said that rules for the carbon market will be passed in the next 2 weeks. This comes nearly 6 months after the legislation was passed. The minister also spoke about ramping up power production in a conversation with CNBC-TV18's Abhimanyu Sharma. Take a look.
As far as the carbon market is concerned, we passed the legislation. The rules have been drafted. They have been consulted. I think we should be able to issue it in the next about fortnight or so.
As far as renewable energy capacity addition is concerned, our reliance on domestic supply chains is bound to grow. What is the roadmap with respect to that? Are there any new PLI schemes in the offing?
We had 2 PLI schemes for domestic manufacturing. So the first PLI scheme resulted in a manufacturing capacity which is under construction of 8,700 megawatts. The second PLI scheme resulted in a manufacturing capacity of 39,000 megawatts, which is going to be started very soon. Now, so we'll have about 48,000 megawatts of construction capacity under construction under the PLI scheme. Apart from that, I believe that another about 40-50 gigawatts of capacity is coming up without the PLI. So by 2030, I think we'll have about 100 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity. So we'll be meeting not only our requirements, but we'll be meeting the requirements of the world.
Global sugar prices have hit multi-week highs and are likely to go up further. This is because the return of El Nino and unpredictable weather patterns poses a threat to sugar production. Domestic prices are, however, considerably stable due to government cap imposed on prices. India is grappling with delayed monsoon in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. Delivery rallied close to 7% after 2.5% stake exchanged hands in a block deal. However, the stock ended the day 1% in the red. We learned from sources that Carlyle was the likely seller and sold stake worth $86 million. Shares of auto component maker Sansera Engineering surged in today's trade and briefly hit a record high. This after 14.1% of 75 lakh company shares changed hands in multiple block deals. The total value of the transaction stood at more than 620 crore rupees. Days after reports of a purported data breach on the CoWIN portal, the Delhi police have made their first arrest. 2 people, including a juvenile, were arrested in Bihar. Danish Anand joins us now with the latest. Danish, what are the charges?
Well, days after an alleged CoWIN data leak happened, the Delhi police has made its first arrest in Bihar. The Intelligence Fusion and Strategic Operations Unit of the Delhi police has arrested a man and a juvenile from Bihar that have allegedly leaked the data through a Telegram bot. Both accused are brothers, and according to the Delhi police, they used the help of their mother, who is a healthcare worker in Bihar. According to the investigations till now, the accused had accessed the portal of CoWIN app and posted the data on Telegram. The Delhi police has also alleged that the accused built a software where any number that they put, all details would come up. The Delhi police also feels that they took their mother's help to leak the data. However, Delhi police has also said that the accused was not selling data to anyone, and further investigations are currently being carried out and more details are expected to come out later. The alleged data leak happened around 10 days back, where details like Aadhaar, voter ID number, passport numbers, cell phone numbers of those who received COVID-19 vaccines was leaked. The Union Health Ministry had earlier come out with a statement in which it said that the CoWIN portal of Health Ministry is completely safe with safeguards for data privacy, and only the OTP authentication is based on the data that is provided. Minister of State for Electronics and IT had earlier stated that Certain had reviewed the alleged data breach and found the CoWIN portal was not directly breached. In fact, the bot was using the previously breached database.
So 2 arrests being made there. Thank you so much for those details, Danish. Now, the search for the missing Titan submersible has entered the 4th day. More deep-sea vehicles have been sent to site as part of international rescue operations. The submersible went missing during a dive to see the wreck of the Titanic with 5 people on board. Officials are concerned that the oxygen supply sustaining its passengers is running dangerously low. The search is focused on an area where underwater sounds have been heard. And before we wrap, 2 of the world's high-profile tech billionaires have agreed to fight each other in a cage match. Mark Zuckerberg has accepted a challenge from Elon Musk after he tweeted saying he was up for a cage fight. And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Business 360. Many thanks for watching, but stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. The news continues on the other side.